So we're going to be looking at graphing a line using the y equals mx plus b formula or equation. Now every equation that you're going to see of a line, not every, sorry, but equations that you see are typically in this form called slope-intercept form. What happens is you have a y equals, then you have some number times x plus some other number. Now this can be a variety of things. It could be a fraction times x plus another number. You could have positives, you could have negatives. There's no real certain thing other than you will always have a number here and a number here. So when you're graphing an equation of a line, let's look at this one here. So if we're graphing this, there's two things that happen in here. One thing is that this number right here is our y-intercept, and as we've talked about before, a y-intercept is always your starting place. So you always start with your y-intercept. Now this here is your y-axis. So we're going to put the 3, we're going to find 3 on the y-axis, and we're going to start our first point there, because to graph a line, you always have to have a place to start from. So we start from that 3. Then we look at our other number involved, and the number with the x is your slope. Now slope is rise over run like we've talked about before. So this one is a 2. Now we need slope to be a fraction, so we're going to put that over 1. And they're both positive 2 and a positive 1, so that means we rise 2 and we run 1, which means my next point's here. Rise 2, run 1. Now I could also go in the other direction by negating, so making both of these negative or changing the sign of both of them. So now I have a negative 2 and a negative 1. That means I'm going back to my y-intercept. I'm going to go down 2, and then I'm going to go to the left 1 because the negative 1 means to the left, down 2 and to the left 1. And so here I have my line. And this is always going to be the way it is. Start with your y-intercept, then go to your slope. Now, sometimes you'll find that, hey, you know what? She lied. There's not a number in front of the x. It's all right. We actually do have a number, it's just hiding. And so what we do again is we start with our y-intercept. It says a negative 2, so I find a negative 2 on my y-axis. And then my slope is the number in front of x. Now there's nothing there. Now how many x's are here? If you answer that question, you should say that there's one x there. So it's actually a 1 right in front of it. And anytime you have a variable and you need a number in front, you can put a 1 there. And then I have to make it a fraction, so I put it over 1. So my slope is just 1 over 1, both positive, so I go up 1 over 1 to the right, up 1 over 1 to the right, up 1 over 1 to the right. Now I could go in the other direction by changing the sign for both of them, and I go down 1 to the left 1, down 1 to the left 1. And my only other thing I want to say is that you need to also be careful about your negatives. If I had a negative 2 as my slope, that means I'm going to go down 2, and then the 1 underneath is still a positive 1. If it was a negative, then they would both cancel out to be positive, and you'd end up with a positive 2. But originally we had a negative 2, so we need this bottom one to be a positive 1 so that it stays a negative 2. And you'll see then my line is going downwards, which is what I would expect with a negative slope.